All right, good evening, class. My name is Enrique. I will be teaching you feminist theory, chapter 10, which is the generating of criminology, feminist theory. So the theorists that analyzed feminist theory was Cesar Lombroso, of course, which also goes into positivist criminology and biological perspectives for other theories that he comes up with. In feminist theory, it states that crime is devastatingly committed by men. So what feminist theory looks at is why crime is more probable among men rather than women, and what causes women to commit crime, and what type of features do women have that causes them to commit crime. So Cesar Lombroso was a theorist that likes to use the application of science in order to understand his theory. All right, so in feminist theory, Cesar Lombroso was a person that liked to use the application of science in order to figure out his theory of feminist theory. So in the 20th century, Cesar Lombroso published The Female Offender, in which he described the female criminality as inherent tendency of women who, in effect, had not developed properly into feminine women with moral refinements. So when he talks about that inside of his book, he states that women have certain facial features on their body that makes them more likely to be a criminal. So biological features such as their cranial and facial features, moles on their face, their height, dark hair, and skin color were all factors that made them turn into criminals, as according to Lombroso.
I have a question.
Yes, Adia.
Okay, so when he was studying which women are more likely to be criminals, what time period was this? Because I know back in the day, things that women would do, maybe, let's say, sleep with another man or things like that. They were shamed. They were, made to walk down the streets naked and things like that. That was back in the day. Was he studying during that period? Because crime was looked at differently for women than it was for men.
No, I don't think he studied it in that time, because he published his work in the early 20th century.
Okay.
So it really wasn't that acquired time in which they were doing that.
Okay.
As according to the book.
Okay.
But that may be differently according to other places and other knowledgeable places. So, according to Lombroso, he also backed up his argument by using physiological evidence that explained why females were biologically permitted to commit crime. So when he further looked into his research, he further explained that short women with dark hair, with moles, and a masculine cranial and facial features were good candidates to commit crime. So some of the theories that are under feminist theory are liberal, radical, Marxist and socialist, postmodern, post-structuralist, and multiracial theories, which all fall into feminist theory. So, furthermore, in Lombroso's theory, he argued that women were also characterized by physiological immobility, physiological passivity, and a morally featuring a cold and calculating predisposition. So in his arguments, he also states that criminal women were in fact more masculine than women. More masculine than feminine. So basically in this whole chapter, Lombroso in the feminist theory discussed how men were more likely to commit crime than women, and the features that a lot of criminal women had that shared with each other, and also what caused women to actually commit crimes. Furthermore, in Lombroso's research, he observed that criminal women adjust more easily to mental and physical pain. So Lombroso was a person, like I said, who likes to use the application of science. So when he used science, he liked to dissect the women in order to figure out what caused them to commit crime, and that's how he came up with these biological perspectives that cause women to commit crime. For example, he argued that criminal women often adjusted well to prison life more than women, so much that it hardly affected them. According to Lombroso, criminal women were abnormal. Are there any questions?
I do have one question. Would you say that any of the theories under feminism come more together than any others? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what you mean.
No, like, do any of those? Because I know they all have some type of relation because they all related to feminist theory.
Mm-hmm.
But do you feel like any of them are any closer related to the others?
Now, in the chapter, they just stated that these are the list of sub-theories that go underneath the feminist theory, but it didn't go into depth about any of the theories. It just said that these are the sub-theories of feminist theory. Boom, that was it. So the book didn't really go into depth about it. So feminist theory is a group of related theories that share several principles in common. First, feminine theories maintain that gender, the socially constructed expectations about the attitudes and behavior of women and men that are typically referred to as femininity and masculinity. Respectively, it is a central organizing component of social life, including criminal offending, victimization, criminal justice processing. What else? Second, feminist theories hold that because of a particular sexism, that it is the valuing of men and masculinity over women and femininity. Women and girls have been systematically excluded or marginalized in criminology, both as professionals and as subjects of study. Consequently, a core principle of feminist theories is to include that female perspectives and experiences in all research and practice. Feminist theories, though, do not treat women or men as homogeneous groups, but rather recognize that gender privilege varies across different groups of women and men. And in conclusion of feminist theory, it goes into describe that all feminist theories share these four major principles. The theories themselves are diverse, so that goes back into the sub-theories of liberal, radical, Marxist, socialist, postmodern, post-structuralist, and multiracial, which are all sub-theories underneath feminist theory. So, in conclusion, the focal point of criminology the focal point of feminist criminology tries to give an explanation for criminal behavior as it pertains to women. It consists of a wide range of problems that females face inside the criminal justice system and society, and this feminist theory also shines a light on the basis of women's problems as they relate to criminality. Women, according to studies up to this point in the present day, do not commit crimes as often as males do, nor do they commit violent crimes in massive numbers as their male counterparts. However, understanding the difference between men and women and them committing crimes is just as important. So Wesley, to answer your question as far as the theories under feminist theory, the book does describe some of them in depth, like liberal, radical, Marxist, and socialist theories under sub-theories. So liberal is a crime that is due to gender socialization. As men and women become more equal in society, the amount and the types of crime for men and women will become more similar. And according to Marxist theory, it states that due to the capitalist mode of production, women assume subordinate roles in society. Their labor is exploited in the workplace and at home, and the crimes they commit and their victimization reflects this subordinate position. Also, in the book, it talks about radical theory and socialist theory. So, radical theory states that men are born more aggressive and dominant, men use crime, including rape, to control women. And socialist theory states that patriarchy, which is based in capitalism, provides men with more opportunities to offend and enables their victimization of women. So, does that better answer your question, Wesley?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so Adia, what was your question or your statement about feminist theory?
I basically just asking, like, would Harvey Weinstein be an example for the socialist perspective on feminist theory? So it talks about patriarchy and how women are basically victimized because men are in more positions of power. So not necessarily that they commit crime more, but they have the opportunity to commit crime more. And that made me think of like Harvey Weinstein and how he was like, you know, in this position of power in the movie business, and all of these women were being sexually harassed and never saying anything because of his position. So he was able to like keep going with it. So I was wondering if like that was like an example of socialist perspective on feminist theory.
That's a perfect example because inside the book, Socialism says that it's based upon capitalism, which provides men with more opportunities to offend and enables the victimization of women. So I do think that that is a perfect example, and I appreciate you for sharing that with the class.
Wow.
I agree as well.
Okay, cool.
Are there any other questions, class?
No, I feel like I pretty much get a good grip on feminist theory and what it brings.
Thank you. Well, this concludes my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you need to use these notes, I will leave them for after class so that you can take them and put them inside your notes.
Okay.
Thank you.